It's not yours. You should leave it.
Hey buddy, look at that money. That precious money down there. You can do so many things with it. Nobody's gonna miss it. It goes right back into the economy. It's all a big circle of life.
You should ask around the neighborhood. See who is missing a $20 bill.
Use it for ice cream. You know you can get ice cream with that.
Ice cream? You don't need ice cream. You have to stay in shape.
What's coming up? Christmas? You can get one of those cones with the green and red sprinkles on it. Yeah, you do it. Get that bill, dummy. You get that bill.
Video games have come a long way since their beginning. They started off with a simple, straight line. The player would follow the story of the game, and they would have to do what the game told them to do in order to beat it. Today, things are much different. Games will often involve choices that decide the outcome of the story and how you play. Often, these choices are moral decisions. These moral decisions can be quite tense at times. You often have multiple options to choose from, and you usually have a limited amount of time to choose one. These decisions are always not a case of black and white. You can easily pick an option that seems like it'd be the right thing to do, but instead, it turns out to be bad for everyone. You actually feel guilty for unknowingly picking the option which ends up hurting everyone else. Some games you don't even find out how much of an effect your choices have had until later on, by which time you're too far in to reload and change things, should you decide you're not happy with the consequences of your actions. These choices in games are brilliant. The choices we make in these games are often a reflection of the person we are, but that is not always the case. Sometimes we want our character to be a bit of an obnoxious person, because that's how we imagine them to be. Or we choose to act like an evil Sith Lord because we want to experience what it's like. But that doesn't necessarily mean we're secretly some kind of psychopath. Which brings us to today's question. Can moral decisions and consequences in video games affect a person's morals in real life? In order to answer this question, I must first make my own morals clear. I agree with the 10 Commandments. I agree that killing is bad and that stealing is just wrong. We should not commit adultery and we should always keep God first. But the thing is, I feel the commandments can be a little too complicated at times. And plus, the first couple ones deal with God himself. So I came up with a list of my own morals. First is to be honest and trustworthy. We must refrain from lying, cheating, and stealing. Second is to be courageous. We must do what is right, even when we are faced with unpleasant or difficult personal consequences. Third is to be self-controlled. We must master our thoughts and control our emotions. Fourth is to be caring and compassionate. We must do what we can to improve the life of others. Fifth is to be fair and just. We must treat others how we want to be treated. Sixth is to add value to the world. We must try to improve the world using our talents and skills. Seventh is to forgive. We must forgive others who do us wrong, and we must not seek revenge. Eighth is to respect autonomy. We must respect the rights of individuals to live their lives their way. And finally, ninth is to have self-respect. We must not abuse our bodies, and we must strive to improve ourselves. These 9 morals I came up with are something that I will always strive to follow. But that doesn't mean there are not exceptions. For example, if your life is in danger, you can defend yourself, even if that means having to kill someone. The Vatican has stated this and has said a person who does this is not a murderer. The same goes if they are responsible for the life of others or for the common good. Now that I have made my morals clear, let's jump back into the world of games. There are many different situations you can come across in these games. It can be anything from abstaining from shooting civilians while infiltrating a terrorist cell, saving or harvesting little sisters, or holding the fate of the Capital Wasteland's people in your hands. These situations force players to think about their actions and choices, and more importantly, the reasons behind them. Players may start to ask themselves, is he really the bad guy? Or is he just trying to defend himself? Or they may even ask, why am I doing this? By thinking about the decisions they make, they realize what they are doing now has an impact beyond the moment. Even more important, when a player steps into a video game, they know everything is fake. They know they can play how they want, but they can never escape the consequences for their actions in the game. For example, I know stealing is wrong, and I would never do it in real life. But when I started to play the Elder Scrolls Online, I saw some apples in someone's room that I could take. I didn't think anything of it at the time, but a little later, I was confronted by a guard. He told me that I could pay for the apples with money, or my life. I didn't have any money, so I was killed. It didn't stop there though. For over an hour, every time I spawned, I was killed. I wasn't able to play the game at all. After a while, the killing stopped, but I learned my lesson. I never stole again. What I did in that game was a simple action with real consequences. But like in life, we are not always faced with simple moral decisions. Sometimes they can be quite complicated. For example, in Metal Gear Solid, you are being tortured. In order to resist the torture, you have to button mash on your controller, which can cause physical pain. If you give in, your girlfriend in the game, who you have built an attachment to, will die. Another example is in Infamous. You can either decide to save your family member or a group of doctors who can make a cure for a plague. You have to choose between the one you love and everyone else. What makes it worse is if you save your family member, they eventually die from the plague.
And it comes down to this, your final test. From one roof hangs Trish, the love of your life. From the other, 6 doctors. Think of all the good they'll be able to do, the thousands of lives they'll save. Which is more important, Cole? The life of one, or the lives of many? Bombs are attached to each platform. You have time to save one, but not both. Choose.
These games test us to see what kind of person we are, and depending on the decisions we make, they show us who we really are. By doing this, they can help improve ourselves. A study done by Buffalo University has sought out to answer the very question I'm talking about here today: if a game can improve morals. They had participants play games where they would make immoral decisions. After the game, they tested the participants and found out that they expressed guilt for the decisions they made. Buffalo University concluded from this that violent video game behavior can actually increase the player's moral sensitivity. The participants learned about the guilt that they would feel if they actually made those decisions in real life. By doing this, the participants learned to recognize what they do in life, because every decision they make has consequences, if they are seen or unseen. Not only can these games show us who we are and the consequences that will come out of our actions, but they can actually teach us to be better people in general. In Chrono Trigger, the game starts out at a fair, and you have to get to a destination. But on the way, you pass several people or items. You can choose to help these people with tasks such as finding their cat or returning their lunch. You get nothing in return but gratitude. In the end, it just takes up more time. At the end of the game though, you are on trial, and the people that you might have helped at the beginning are your jury. If you help them in the beginning, you have a greater chance of them voting innocent, as compared to if you didn't help them, they would have a greater chance of voting you guilty. This is because you showed those people who you really are at the beginning. You showed what you could do and what you would do to help others. This teaches the player that even small actions we make can have an effect on us later in life. Finally, video games can show us our limits, what we are willing to do for the greater good. Sometimes, video games will make you do something in order to achieve something else. Most time what you're trying to achieve in the end is for the best. For example, In Modern Warfare 2, I had to infiltrate a terrorist cell in order to learn the terrorist plans, so we could save a mass of innocent people. In order to gain their trust, you had to go into an airport with them and shoot it up. When I first did this, my instinct was to kill the terrorists so I could save everyone in the airport. I was killed because of this and I had to restart. When it started again, I was forced to walk through the airport with them and fire my gun. While I made sure I never shot a single person, I still deeply regretted what I was doing. In the end though, I got the information and saved a mass of people. But I questioned my actions, and I questioned, was it worth the life of those innocent people in the airport?
The rest of Task Force 141 brought in the ACS, Alan. 2 men took down an entire base. I ask much more from you now. Yesterday you were a soldier on the front lines, but today, front lines are history. Uniforms are relics. The war rages everywhere, and there will be casualties. This man, Makarov, is fighting his own war and he has no rules, no boundaries. He doesn't flinch at torture, human trafficking, or genocide. He's not loyal to a flag or a country or any set of ideals. He trades blood for money. He's your new best friend. You don't want to know what it's cost already to put you next to him. It will cost you a piece of yourself. It will cost nothing compared to everything you'll save.
That game showed me who I was and my limits. It showed me that I couldn't stand by and watch innocent people die. I learned something about myself that day that I would never forget. So, to answer the question, can moral decisions and consequences in video games affect a person's morals in real life? The answer is yes. The decisions and consequences in games can improve your morals. They can teach you where you stand and what you would do in moral situations. They can show you the consequences that you would get from those situations, and they can teach you that what you do has an impact beyond the moment. You take what you learn from video games and you apply it to real life, even if you don't know it. Thank you for watching.